NextJS is a modern React framework which can be used to build powerful websites with a high convenience, and it saves a lot of developers' time. Hi everyone, my name is Harry and I'll be walking you through the Next.js basics in this video. We'll start with the basics of how to create a Next.js app, and then we'll raise the bar like anything. Also, I'm going to do a blog project in this video, which is going to be very exciting. After watching this video, you all will be having a blog of yours. Even if you are a complete beginner, I'll hold your hands and I'll walk you through each and every Next.js concept in this video. Let's move on to a computer screen and let's get started. So I'm inside of my computer screen and you can see that I have opened this folder in VS Code. What exactly is VS Code? You can simply Google VS Code and you'll be directed to this page where you can download VS Code either for Windows, Mac or whatever your operating system is. So once you have downloaded VS Code, you should be able to follow along. You can see that I've opened this folder in VS Code by simply right clicking and selecting this option. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a Next.js app. And before we create a Next.js app, I want you to install node.js by simply typing node.js install, and you can simply install it by downloading node.js from here. You can either click on Windows installer. If you are on Mac OS, you can simply click on Mac OS installer, or you can even download the Linux binaries. After you have downloaded Node.js, you need to know what Next.js is. So I'm going to simply say, what is Next.js? And Next.js is a flexible React framework that gives us building blocks to create fast web applications. Let me explain what they mean here. So Next.js is a React framework. Whatever you're going to write is React, but on top of React, you are going to get some powerful tools like you are going to get a router, you are going to get file-based routing without having to install any third-party framework. You are going to get Next head. You are going to get optimized images using Next image. You must be wondering what exactly this is, but that's exactly what we are going to do here. So without any further ado, what I want you to do is Google create next app, and create next app is a utility that you can run to create a new next app. So I'm going to run yarn create next app, and I'm going to run this in my terminal. So what I'll do is I'll open this folder in VS Code once again, and I'm going to open the terminal and I'm going to say yarn create next app, and you'll see that a next app is being created. It's asking me what is your project name. I'll say it's called Linode blog. Okay, let me call it Linode blog. You can see that a folder has been created here with the name Linode blog. You can create some Harry blog or John blog. You can use your business name, whatever the case may be. I'm using Linode blog as an example. I'm waiting for this to finish up, and then what I'll do is I'll enter this folder and I'll open this folder in VS Code. I think it's done. So what I'll do is I'll close VS Code and I'll open my VS Code inside of this folder, because Next.js tutorial Linode is a folder where I've created an app and my app name is Linode blog, and I'm entering this folder and I want this folder to be opened inside of VS Code. Okay, so I hope this is clear. I'll open my terminal and I'll simply say yarn dev. What is yarn dev? Yarn dev is basically a script which is running next dev. If you want to see the script this is running, you can simply go to package.json, and after you open package.json you should see the script section here. There is next dev, there is next build, next start, next lint, and in order to run these scripts you'll run yarn dev, yarn build, yarn start and yarn lint respectively. Now the moment you run yarn dev, this will start a development server for you to work with Next.js. So development server has been started. I'll control click. Now this is what you are going to see after starting the development server. What exactly is this and where is it coming from? Let me show you. So in order to understand Next.js, you'll have to see the file structure. Let me explain each and every file to you. So we'll start with .next. This is the build, the Next.js project build. this folder will be built every time you run next build. So even if I delete this folder and I'll click continue, and if I run yarn build, this folder will be recreated. So I guess it is still deleting this folder, so I'll wait. And this is saying it wants to allow changes to your hard drive. I've allowed it, and next folder is gone. Now if I say yarn build, I'm basically saying build my app, which basically creates this folder .next, and you can see that this folder is recreated. Node modules is a list of all the modules that this Node.js app is using. At the end of the day, the entire Next.js project is a Node.js app, and node modules is a set of modules that this Node.js app is using. Now I'll run yarn dev to start the server yet again. And if I click on pages folder, you'll see that we have an API folder, we have an app.js, we have an index.js. Now, what exactly is this API? So Next.js is not just a front-end framework. If you talk about React is a front-end framework. React is used to create front-end apps. But the best part about Next.js is that it is not just a front-end framework, it is also a back-end framework, and we'll see what that means. Inside of API folder, we are going to write some apps which are going to be back-end endpoints. Inside of this API folder, we are going to write some code which will be the backend API. If we deploy this entire app, whatever we write inside the API is going to come from server side, and whatever we are writing here can either come from server side or client side. If you don't know what this means, please stick with me and I'll explain you what exactly this means. Now this is a public folder, and public folder is basically the files, static files, which are going to be served by this Next.js app. So if I want to serve a static favicon, I can exactly place this favicon inside of this public folder. And if I go to my domain name /favicon.ico, I should be able to see this, and I'll show you favicon.ico, and this file can be seen here. Even if I create a new file, say demo.txt, and I'll say this is a demo text file. So I'll say demo.txt, demo.txt, and you can see that this demo text file is now being served statically using this public folder. So this public folder will be served statically by this Next.js app. Now styles will hold all the global styles and module level styles. We'll talk about this later. We can have different classes here, like home.module.css will be a file which will contain all the classes which we are going to use in index.js. Now index.js is the page which is being served. Any file we create inside of pages folder will be an endpoint. For example, if I say blogs.js and if I type RAFCE, enter blogs, you can see that this endpoint is created. But if you type RAFCE, it might not work in your computer. So let me show you what exactly you need to do. You need to install this extension, React Redux GraphQL snippets or something, ES7 React Redux React Native snippets. This is the extension you need to install, and you'll then be able to use RAFCE shortcut in order to create a component. So this is a component which I've created. The name of the component is blogs, and blogs.js is an endpoint. So if I go to /blogs, I'll see this page. So this page is showing me just the blogs, okay, nothing else. This is what blog.js shows me, okay. What I'll do now is I'll simply remove this global styling, the global.css, and if I reload this page, all the global styles are gone. And I'll also tell you what _app.js file is. Any endpoint we access, this file will be loaded. That component will be loaded through this endpoint. So if I'm going to /blogs, this will be executed first, and then blogs.js component will be rendered inside of this component. Okay, I hope you understood it. So now even if I reload this page, let me disable this extension. I was using an extension called dark mode and I've disabled it. You can see that this page is loaded like this. Okay, there is nothing inside of blocks.js, so it is not showing me any fancy page, but we are going to do a lot of fancy stuff here. Now what I'll do is I'll create a blog and we'll see all the Next.js concepts using this blog. Now I'll go to getbootstrap.com. If you don't know what Bootstrap is, it is a powerful, extensible and feature-packed front-end toolkit. What does it mean? Let me use it and show it to you and you'll understand what exactly Bootstrap is. So we'll go to Bootstrap docs and I'll exactly copy this thing and I'll paste it inside of my underscore app.js. So I'm going to copy this head and I will paste it inside of underscore app.js. And with this, I'm going to explain to you what exactly Next.js offers. So if I say import head from next/head, I can actually use this head component from Next.js. Now see that this is JavaScript. Underscore app.js is a JavaScript file. We are not writing HTML here. If we import head from next/head, Next.js is basically giving us something which we can use like this and we can write whatever we want inside of head component of HTML of the file it is serving. So let me show you what this means. So in order to make this work, we'll have to wrap it inside of a React fragment, and this should work after I wrap it inside a React fragment. This is showing me an error, does not have a corresponding closing tag. Okay, so if I'm using a meta tag, I need to close it like this. So if you're using Next.js, you'll have to close all the tags, and link is a self-closing tag and you need to close it like this. Okay, so this is now working. If I save this page and if I take you to blogs page, you'll see that the title of this page is coming as, okay, so it's not loading yet. So let me restart. I think I need to restart this. And if I now reload, I don't see the title of this page set. So something is not working right. Let me see what exactly the problem is. So I've imported head here. I am basically using the head component and I'm setting the title of this page, but the title of this page is not being set, and I'll have to see why that's the case. The reason it is not working is I need to return this fragment instead of returning this component. So I need to pull this return here so that it can return the entire fragment. And this should work now, and it is working. You can see Bootstrap demo. But I don't want to change, I don't want to keep the title of the page Bootstrap demo. I want to change it. I will change it to, I'll change it to something like Linode blog, and I'll save it. And you can see that the title of this page has been changed to Linode blog, and I'll change it to welcome to Linode blog. So I can change the title of this page. I have included Bootstrap, but in order to include Bootstrap, I need to include script as well. So this is a JavaScript file which we are missing. So what I can do is I can import this JavaScript file inside of head, or maybe we can import this JavaScript file right before the component, but I cannot use script tags like this. I'll have to change it to script, and I'll have to do something like this: import script from next script. Now you must be thinking, what exactly is happening? Why we are doing this? Why capital S? Why capital H in head? I'll tell you everything about this, but this is to make Bootstrap work. And if you make Bootstrap work like this, it will work just fine, and we can focus on coding our blog app. Now we'll see why exactly we are using Bootstrap. So this is the index.js page. Okay, let me come to index.js page, which was already built by Next.js. This was given to me by default. Okay, I'll reset it and I will remove everything from this. Let me remove this, and let me also remove this container, and I will add a container. I'll say dev dot container, and inside the container here, this is my home page. Okay, I just want to see if this works, and yes, this works. Bootstrap is working fine because I'm seeing this padding. Okay, so Bootstrap is working fine. Now the benefits of using Bootstrap are you can simply go to components, you can go to navbar, and you can copy one of their navbars, and things are going to be very simple for you. So I'm going to create a folder called components, and inside of this components folder, I'm going to create a file called navbar.js, and I'll say RAFCE. This is a component, and inside of this div, or rather I'll simply paste this HTML here, and we need to put a slash here for this to work in React, and yes, this works. So there is an error somewhere. Let me see where is the error. So HR needs to be closed. Okay, so this works. Now if I go to index.js, and if I go to app.js, and just before the component, if I load navbar, navbar, and if I use this component here, I'll see this component inside of all the pages, and I can change this to dark. I'll show you how. If I want to change this to a dark navbar, I'll simply say bg dark. Okay, so I think I'll need to go to Bootstrap documentation to find a dark navbar. Dark navbar, where is dark navbar? Okay, so it's saying dot navbar dark have been written to overwrite. Okay, so I need to find the dark navbar. Okay, I just saw the dark navbar. So navbar dark and bg dark is something that I need to add, I guess. Let me see if this works, and yes, this works. So this is a very beautiful looking navbar. I'll change this navbar to Linode blog, and I will also change this to home. So I'll change this link to home, 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 and I'll change this to blogs, and I'll change the another one to, or rather I'll remove this UL or the LI because I don't want to have disabled buttons. I'll replicate this rather, and I'll change this to say about us, and then I will further replicate it, and I'll say contact us. If you want to use the drop downs and everything, you can use them. I don't want to use them, so I've removed them. Okay, otherwise if you use the drop downs, they are going to work like this, and they look good. They look good if you want to use them, but I do not want to use them. So you can see here that if I reload this page, home, why the home twice? I need to remove one home from here, and yes, so Linode blog, home, about us, contact us. This is how we see this. Now I want to change the hrefs to /about and /contact because this is an anchor tag, and you know what anchor tag does? It basically directs you to the correct page. And I can also change the link of Linode blog to / to home page. So if I go to about us, this page does not exist. Contact us also does not exist. Home exists. Linode blog exists. Did you notice something? Even if this page does not exist, I'm seeing the navbar. This is because the 404 page is being rendered along with this navbar, because my underscore app.js is being rendered correctly. I can even have a footer here inside of my underscore app.js, and it will be rendered correctly. And this is really very good. And I love this about Next.js. Now I want to see all of my blogs here. So I'll use a heading. I'll say h1. Inside of my index.js, I'll say h1. And I'll say welcome to Linode blog. I'll save this, and we'll see this, and we'll see all the blog posts written here. So what I'm going to do now is I will simply go to cards, and we are going to add a card here. So let me add a card here, and I'll say div.cards, and cards will contain all the cards. Format document, and let's see how this looks. So it says that style prop. So I'll tell you what exactly the error is. So this is plain and raw HTML. You cannot use plain and raw HTML because your style should now be an object. So in order to make style an object, I'll have to do this, and I'll have to do this twice. Why twice? Because initially I need to write these brackets to indicate that I am writing JavaScript. So one curly bracket for JavaScript and another curly bracket for object, for indicating that I want to use an object. So I'll say width is going to be 18 rem, and I'll make it a string. So if I reload it now, this is going to work. And this image does not exist, which is why this error is being shown, but this is how it will look if there is an image. So let me grab some image. So I'll say blog. I'll get URL to some image. This looks pretty good. Open link in open image in new tab. Let me, no, I don't want to save this image. Copy image address, and I'll paste it here. Okay. Oops, it's a base 64 image. Can I have a simpler blog image? Something related to the computer. I think this looks pretty good. So let's paste it here and let's see how the app looks. Where is my blog app? So yeah, there you go. This is looking really very good, and this looks like a blog post. So let us say I want to write a blog on JavaScript. JavaScript tutorial. Okay, so this will show like this on the page. Now you can see that this heading needs some spacing from the top and from the bottom, and in order to add the spacing from top and bottom, you can use a class in JavaScript, a class from Bootstrap, which is my4, and it will give you margin, a top margin and a bottom margin. So margin on the y-axis. So there is some spacing now, and this is looking pretty good. Okay, so I can even have more blogs, and I can show all the blogs here. So you can see that the home page will consist of all the blogs. This is the blog title. This is the blog content. Now, instead of saying go somewhere, I'll say read more. Okay. And the moment somebody clicks on read more, I want that person to read this blog. So read more should direct the user to a page called /blog post / the slug of this blog. Let us say the slug is JS tutorial. So what we see in URL is the slug. So I'll show you some blog from some company, and I'll show you what exactly the slug is. Or let's take example of codewithhari.com. So if I go to codewithhari.com, you can see that this is the slug. This is the slug. Best laptop to buy in 2022. This is the slug. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. Let me close all the tabs which I'm not using. And if I click on read more, I'll go to /blog post / JS tutorial. Now I cannot create individual pages. I cannot say /blog post / JS tutorial / blog post / Python tutorial, and I cannot create all these pages manually. That's going to be a lot of work. I don't want that. What I'll rather do is pull these from the database cleverly and store these to the database as well. And I want all of this to happen automatically. So even if I have 13,000 blog posts, it's just a random huge number. 13,000 blog posts can be added to a database and can be pulled smartly by our NextJS app. So let's go and create a folder called blog post. So I'm going to create a folder called blog post. Let me create blog post. You can do something like this. You can say blog post / and I'll say slug.js. Now you'll say, what exactly is this? So the moment I press enter, a folder will be created and a file slug.js will be created. I'll say RAFCE and I'll say slug. Okay. Now if I take you to this page, slug will be printed, but I want to print JS tutorial here. So I'll take you to Next.js documentation, Next.js roots. So there are two types of roots in Next.js, static roots and dynamic roots. In order to access dynamic roots, what you'll have to do is you can simply use this to get the dynamic part. So we need to use the router. So I'll simply say use router. So there are some examples here of dynamic routing. No, I just want to take the content of the router. So you can do something like this. You can say import use router from next router. So Next.js has a built-in router and you can use this and you can do something like this. So you can say that, hey, I want to pull out slug from the query. So I'll say pull out slug from the query and I'll say display slug here inside of a paragraph. So I'll say slug. I want to display the slug here. So the moment I put it inside of a curly bracket, this is JavaScript, and we can return only one element. So we'll have to do something like this. Now, if I reload this, you can see JS tutorial is being printed. If I change this to say Harry, you'll see Harry here. So we are basically taking data from the URL dynamically. This is going to be very easy for us to pull the content from the database. But how do we do that? How do we pull the content from the database? I'll show you how to pull the content from the database. But for now, let's assume that we have the content. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll say class name is equal to my or other container, and we'll have a heading. We'll say h1. We'll say class name is equal to my4, and we'll say JavaScript tutorial or IAL. Trust me, I know the spellings. Then inside of the paragraph, we have slug, and let me write another paragraph and I'll say lorem 234. And this is how our tutorial is going to look. So this is a blog page and this looks really good to me. So what I want to do is I want to pull this dynamically and I want to pull this dynamically. Let's go. Let's do this. So in order to pull these dynamically, what I'll have to do is I'll have to create a database and I'll have to store everything to the database. So what I'll do is I will use a database and pull the content out from the database. But for the sake of this tutorial, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save all the content to a file. Okay, I'm going to save all the content to a file and I will create that file inside of public. But there is one downside to this approach. Anybody can go to the public URL and download all the files that we have, and we don't want that. But in the future, what we are going to do is we are going to take this data out from the database. Now to fetch the data, what I'm going to do is I will be using API and I'll show you what exactly this means in a while. But for now, what I'll do is I'll fix some of the issues that I'm getting here. So I've copied some code, and in order to use that code in React, I need to replace class with class name. So you cannot use class, you need to use class name. So I'll replace all occurrences and also I'll do the same in my blog post. So blogs.js, slug.js, let me see if there is any class is equal to in this file. There is no class is equal to in this file. Great. Now what is my target? I want to get all the blogs. I want to write two APIs. Now I'll tell you what API exactly is. API is something that runs on the backend. So if I talk about this hello.js file, and if I go to localhost 3000 /API /hello, this will return this name John Doe, and this will run server side. This will not run on the client side. This will run on the server side. So you can see that it is returning name John Doe. What I'll do here is I'll copy the content of this file and I'll create another file, getblog.js. Okay, so I'm saying getblog.js. This will give me a blog, and this will simply give me a blog from list of all the blogs that I'm going to have. So what I'll do is I will create a data folder and I'll say that all of my blogs are in data folder, and I've created a file called blogs.json. And what is this blogs.json? This is going to be an array of all the blogs. Okay, so if you don't know what this means, I'll show you what I mean to do here. So I'll say blogs, and this is going to be an array, and I'll put this blogs in double quote, and the first blog title is going to be JS tutorial. Content is going to be, hey, this is content. We are going to populate this file very soon. We are just testing it for now. So let me go to getblog.js, and what I'll do is I'll say, hey, import blogs.json. And where do I want to import blog.json from? I want to import it from the data folder. Okay, so I'll say go one step back. I'll say // and go to data folder and grab this blogs.json. Okay, and I'll simply say as j, and I'll say import blogs from this blogs.json. Okay, I'm going to import all the blogs, and now what I'll do is I will copy this res.status and I'll paste it here. Okay, and instead of saying name John Doe, I'll say blogs, and let me see what I will get if I go to get blog. I think it was get blog. Oh yes, I get all the blogs. Okay, now what I'll do is I will filter all the blogs and I will exactly take the blog which I want. Ideally, you are going to write some database operations here, but for the sake of this tutorial, I am using a JSON file which is storing all of my data. Okay, so let me export all the blogs and let me rename this to get blogs, or rather let me create another file, get blogs.json, .js, and get blogs.js will fetch all the blogs. Okay, now what I'll do is I will come to this file and I'll say let my blog is equal to blogs.filter, and filter is a higher order JavaScript method, and I'll say that if the blog slug is equal to request.body.slug, let me say request.body.slug, we are going to fetch this blog and I'll return my blog. Okay, I'll say return this, my blog. We are going to get this blog and we are going to return it. Simple. Now, before I run this filter function on blogs, I need to see how my blog looks like. So I will see how this looks like. I'll say .blogs. I'll say blogs.blogs, or rather I'll say import data, and I'll say that data is the content of this file. Data is the content of this file, and I'm taking blogs from this file. Now let's see if this works, but for this to work, I will have to provide a slug. Let me hard code the slug. I'll say let slug is equal to, and let me take the first one. I don't have any slug yet, so I'll say slug and I'll say JS. Let me keep it simple. Now what I'll do is I'll say JS, and here I'll say slug. Instead of let slug is equal to request.body.slug, I'll say slug is equal to this, and I'll say slug. Okay, now I will reload this and I'll see what getBlog returns. So it returns the very first blog. Nice, great. So it is giving me the entire file, but the problem is that it shows me my blog and it's an array. No problem. So I'll say blog is my blog 0. I want to take a single blog from my blog, so it is showing me what the data is. So blog is this. Great. Okay. Now I can parse this data and show it inside of my blog. Localhost 3000 on the home page. I want to show all the blogs. So in order to do that, what I'll do is I'll call this function. But do I need to call this API? The answer is no. I can use a special function called get server side props inside of Next.js. So I'll come to index.js and I will use get server side props. And in order to use get server side props, I will use this syntax. See, you don't have to remember all the syntax. All you need to do is you need to paste this and you should be good to go. You don't have to remember how this looks like. Now, inside of get server side props, I'm going to fetch my blogs. So whatever I've written inside of my get blogs, I am going to do here. So I'll say at the very top, import blogs from data/blogs.json, and I'll say blogs. So props is blogs, and I can take these props here and I can say console.log inside of use effect. So use effect is a React hook. I'll simply say console.log blogs just to see if this works, and also I will open console here. So let me open console here. So there is some issue here. It says that cannot resolve this. Okay, so I need to go one step back because I'm already inside pages. Here I was inside API folder. So here I need to remove this // okay. It says use effect is not defined. No problem. Import use effect from React. And now this works. Now if I go to inspect and if I try to see how my blogs look like, it looks like this. Do I have a class is equal to issue somewhere? I think I have it in the nav bar. So I need to go to nav bar and fix it. Yes, I'll replace and this should remove this error. Okay, nice. So I'm seeing all the blogs here and I should now be able to populate all of my blogs here. So what I'll do is I'll come to index.js and I will remove this use effect because I don't want to see all the blogs in the console. I was just using this use effect to make sure that I'm getting all the blogs from the blogs.json. Now the target is to show all the blogs inside this cards folder. So I'll say blogs.map and I'll say blog and I want to return this. I want to return this. And where is the closing div of this blog? So I guess here is the closing div if I'm not wrong. What is the issue? So okay, so in order to write JavaScript inside of HTML, I need to enclose it with a curly bracket to indicate that I am writing JavaScript here. Now let's see if blogs.map is working or not, but no, it's not working. Why is it not working? It's not working because blogs is not an array. I need to find where is my array. I think I need to say blogs.map because blogs is an array, blogs is an object, and inside this object there is another blogs which is an array. So I need to run map on that array. So far so good. Let me reload and I'm seeing this JavaScript tutorial. If I click here, you will see JS tutorial. But wait, we have not yet used any data from blogs.json. So I need to say blog.title and I'll say blog.slug here. Href is equal to blog.slug. So I'll say blog.slug. And this is going to be blog.desc. We don't have any DESC here, but I'll add it. Or rather, let me say blog.content, and I want to show first few characters of the content here. So I'll say blog.content and 0 to say 122. But we can't use slicing like this. I need to use subs str, and I'll say 0 comma 122, and then I'll add triple dot. Let me see how this looks. Hey, this is content.js tutorial, read more /js. Great. So if I reload this and if I click here, so it says /js. I need to add something else to my href, which is, wait, let me see what is the name of that folder. So inside of my pages folder, I have another blog post folder. So I'll say blog post /blog.js. Okay. So let me save it and let me go to home and let me see if I click here, I should be able to go here and this is my slug. Okay. So far so good. Am I able to see all the blogs here? Let me check. And if I add some more blogs inside of my blogs.json, what will happen is I should be able to see all of that content. So I'll add few more. Let me say Python tutorial and I'll say py. Then I'll say HTML tutorial and then I'll say HTML. And let's see if this works. Okay, so there is a problem here. I need to show all of these blogs as a row. Okay, I'm not seeing the row yet. So in order to fix this, what I'll do is I will add a class is equal to row to my cards. Okay, so if I add a row to cards, I should be able to fix this issue. So I'll say class name is equal to cards and a row, and also I want to add mx4 to the cards so that they maintain some spacing with each other. And just to be sure that this will work with even more blogs, I will copy this content and I will replicate it again. And I'll add advanced tutorial to JS advanced tutorial, Python advanced tutorial, and my slug should be unique for this to work. Otherwise the blog will break. So I'm seeing 3 blog posts in a row, which is fine. And I need to add some spacing at the top as well. So I'll say my3 and let's see if this works. Yeah, this is looking pretty good. If you want to center the content, there is a way to center the content using Flexbox, but let me see if this is going to work here. So I'll simply say justify content center. Okay, if I add this style to my row, the content will be centered. And you can even center this one. You can say text line center. Okay, you can do something like this. And there are classes to do just this in Bootstrap. So you can go to getbootstrap.com, you can go to docs, you can search for Flexbox. Let me go to this particular thing. So dflex p2, no, I want to justify. So justify content. So justify content center is the name of the class. So justify content center is something I need to add to my row, and text center will be added to my, no, not to the container. It should be added to my heading. Okay, let me see how this looks now. If I reload this page, this is looking pretty good, guys. This is looking really very nice. So if I click on read more, I'm seeing this thing, but I want to see the content dynamically. So our homepage is ready. About page is something that you can create using Bootstrap elements. Bootstrap is copy paste. You can go to the components and you should be able to copy paste. You can use accordion. You can use these things just by copying this code. You can use alerts. You can use badge. You can use breadcrumbs. You can use buttons. Now, one more thing that I want to mention is that the way I have used Bootstrap in my NextJS blog is not the correct way. I mean, it is correct. It will work. Don't get me wrong here. But you should install the Bootstrap package. Just to make things simple for you, I've added the CDN, but you can make things even more better by serving the JavaScript right from your server. If you don't know what that means and if you are beginner, you don't have to worry about anything. This is going to work and this is going to even scale just fine. But you got the point. If you serve it from your own server, you can use the power of your server if your server is really very powerful. So having said that, we'll now create slug.js page, which is at this point holding the dummy content. Okay, so let me add some content to my blogs.json because it doesn't have any content yet. So I'll use my multi cursors and I'm going to paste the content. So this is how your JSON will look like. Let me format the JSON. This is how your JSON will look like after you have a lot of blocks here. You can even use Markdown. You can even use HTML, and there are ways to parse HTML that I'm going to show you. So slug.js contains this, and I want to use effect here. So let me copy use effect. Or we can even use get server side props. Okay, we can even use get server side props. So if you want to use get server side props, you can simply use this function and we can run the filter function right here. Okay, so you don't have to do something like this. You can simply say, hey, I want to get the slug and I want to filter all of my blogs and get that particular blog. Is it efficient way to do this? Probably no, because we are reading the file and searching the blog there. But if you are having a database, you should be able to query your database. So query your database very, very efficiently. Do not get all the records and use filter function on that, because that way you are fetching all the records from the database. In this case, since we are reading from a file, we are keeping things simple. I'm doing this. Okay, so let me copy and let me paste it here inside of slug.js. So let me format the document and let me also print the context. So I'll say console.log, tell me what's the context. Okay, so if I scroll down, let me delete this and open another terminal because I want to keep my terminal clean as well. So let me open some blog, and the moment I open the blog, it says data is not defined, no problems. I need to say blogs.filter, and if I do this, it says blogs does not define. Okay, so I need to import the blogs. I've not imported anything yet. I need to import all the blogs and I'll use it at the top of the file. Let me reload, and the moment I reload, it says it gives me an error because I'm inside a folder when I'm in the slug.js file. When I was in index.js file, I was not inside any folder. I was directly inside pages. So I need to go 2 folders back. Are you getting the point here? Here I'm inside of 2 folders. One is pages, one is blog post. Here I'm inside of just pages. Okay. I hope this is very clear to all of you. Let me reload and see if things are working. So slug is not defined, no problem. Am I printing the context correctly? Yes, I am. So this is how my context looks like. I want to see where my slug is. So if I say context dot slug, or if I say context dot URL, let me print context dot URL, and if I reload, so am I getting the correct URL? Yes, I'm getting. So it shows me an error, by the way. So what I'll do is I will simply reload this again, and context.url is undefined. I need to find context.query. Context.query. Let me print this. So context.query prints slug.js, which is great. So I'll say context.query.slug, and it prints JS. And I can do something like this. I can print context.query.slug, and I can take this my blog here. Okay, so this is how my blog looks like at this point. Now if I reload this page, you can see that I'm getting JS here, and I can use this my blog to populate this. So I'll say my blog dot blogs dot title, Wait. So I should do something like this. My blog 0. I'll say my blog dot title. Will this work? Yes, this works. Okay. Now I'll say my blog dot content here. I'll say my blog dot content, and I'll say author. I'll say my blog dot author. My blog dot author. And let's reload. Hey, this is content. Let me go to home. Let me open this Python tutorial. Hey, this is content. But wait, we had the content inside of blocks.json, which was pretty big. Okay, so if I click on HTML tutorial, I should be getting a huge content. And yes, so author is nobody. I need to add author to all of my blogs. Let's do it. Let's select all the blogs and let's add author Harry to all the blogs. Wait, I don't need a cursor here. I need a cursor here. I'll say author Harry. Okay. And let's not add author to the Python tutorial. Okay. Now, if I reload this page, you can see author Harry is here. You can always do the styling. You can always play around with the styling of this page. But this is how you create a very basic blog. You can have 10, 20, 100, 200 blogs like this. And all of your blogs will be fetched from your JSON. And this will be just fine. Okay, because you don't need speed at this point. If you have 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 blogs, you might need speed. But if you are trying to make money from your blog, you can simply do this. And after you do this and your blog starts to get some traffic, you can always switch to a database. And if you want to switch to a database, you can go to linode.com and you can use the managed MongoDB database from linode.com. I have created a video on MongoDB on the Linode channel. So if you go to the Linode channel, you will find that MongoDB tutorial. A lot of other people have created a lot of things here, so you must check out those videos. But if I talk about my MongoDB video, here it is. You can watch this video. I have explained MongoDB from starting to the end. You should be able to integrate MongoDB to this blog. I've also created a notes taking app if you want to watch that video on the Linode channel. And this was all about this tutorial. I want to show you one more thing before we wrap this up, and that thing is that even if we don't have any author, I want to not show anything. So I can do something like this. I can say, hey, if my blog.author is not there, do not show anything. If my blog.author is there, you show the author. So now you'll see author Harry here. And if you open the Python tutorial, you'll not see author because Python tutorial doesn't have any author inside of the JSON. So this is how you create a very basic blog using Next.js. But there is one problem with this blog. The first problem is that I need to import head from NextHead, and I need to add the title and meta description. So I will copy head from my app.js and I will change the title. Okay, so I'll come to index.js first and I will say I want to change the title to Linode blog. Welcome to Linode blog. This is fine. I don't want to change the title of index.js, but talking about slug.js, I want to change the title to the title of the page, which is going to be my blog dot title and Linode blog. So you can see JS tutorial Linode blog, and if I open Python tutorial, you will see Python tutorial Linode blog. Now if I talk about the HTML content, you can even have your content rendered as HTML. So if you want to do that, let us say I want to bold this. I want to bold this and I want to do something like this. This is a very basic HTML tag, but this will work even if you have complex HTML tag inside of your content. If I open the HTML tutorial, I'll show you. If I open the HTML tutorial, you'll see this B, hey B, which is not looking good. Okay, if you want to parse this as HTML, you will have to use dangerously set inner HTML. And how do we do that? Let me grab the syntax from the web. So dangerously set inner HTML is a function which can be used like this. Let me get the syntax from somewhere. So all you need to do is you need to add your data like this. So instead of showing my blog.content like this, I will say, hey, inside of this paragraph, set the HTML to this thing, my blog.content, and this will work just fine. So if I save this and if I show you, did you see this bold tag? This tag is now getting bold because I can use HTML inside of my content now. Should I show you something else? I will also change the, oops, I will change the, error temporibus to italic using the I tag, and you'll see that this is getting italic. You can write any kind of HTML here. Even if you write another paragraph inside of this, you should be good to go. So if I say p tag, if I say I want to start a p tag here, you can do something like this. And if I close the p tag here, this should split this into two paragraphs. So you can see that this is split into two paragraphs from here. So you can even have your blog as HTML if you want to start a very simple blog and you are posting 10, 20, 30 pieces of content in your blog. You can start with this. You can even make the search work by creating another page, search.js inside of pages, and you can use the JavaScript logic. But this is how NextJS work at a very high level. Another thing I want to fix is if I click on read more, you'll see that this page is getting reloaded. I don't want this page to get reloaded every time I'm clicking somewhere. So to fix this, I will use next link. So let me close all the tabs, and I'll open index.js first. And in place of anchor tags, I will use a link tag. Now, what is a link tag? Link is a component. It's a component and it is a part of NextJS. So if I say import link from next link, you'll see that I can use this link now. So I'll save this page, I'll reload, and you can see that read more. Clicking read more is not reloading the page anymore. Okay, but I have a problem here, and the problem is that I have lost my styling, which I was having inside of the anchor tag. So what I'll do is I'll place my anchor tag inside of link and I should get that style, but no, I'm not getting it. I need to see what's wrong here. So let me do Control Z. Let me copy this first and I'll do Control Z. Okay, so I need to even copy this class name. So I'll simply wrap it inside of links. So I'll say class name is equal to btn primary. If I click on read more, this will not reload the page. So if you see here, you'll not see any loading bar because this is dynamically loading this page, and this is very smooth experience. If you go to youtube.com, if you go to any website which is a single page application, you will get this experience, and this experience is really very pleasant. Opening or switching pages without having to reload the website. This is what we have done here, and we can even do the same thing here. So I'll very quickly go to navbar and I'll do the same thing, and I'm going to do the exactly same thing. I'm not going to do anything special. So I'll simply use my alt key and I'll wrap this up inside the link tags. So I'll remove these link tags and I need to wrap all this inside link. So I'll have to do this manually. Just a moment. So link, and also href should be pasted here. Href is equal to, yes, so href equals to, I'll copy this, or rather cut this, and I'll paste it here. I hope this will work now. So let me, okay, so link is not defined. I want to import link from next link. Yes. Reload the page and about us, home, contact. Okay, so clicking on contact is actually reloading the page. Let me see what's wrong here. So if I click on contact, it is reloading the page. Why is it reloading the page? About, it should not reload the page. Okay, so it's reloading it because it is showing a 404 error. If your page doesn't have a 404 error, you should be good to go. So this is how you create a very basic blog using Next.js. I hope that you were able to understand how Next.js works and how you can create a very basic blog using React, Next.js, and a little bit of Bootstrap. So thank you so much guys for watching this video, and I will see you next time.